Hello everyone, this is Andrea Tonelli. Today I want to show you how I have set up my amps in my studio so that I can pick and choose which one I want and have it come directly into my computer or to a speaker cabinet or to any other device that I use to record them or to hear them. And when you have a lot of amps, it becomes a bit hard to figure out a way to have them so that you can choose whatever amp you want and have it come into, for example, your speaker cabinet without always constantly having to reach in the back of the amps, move cables around, because that's it's hard to get back there. And also, you can cause wear and tear on the cables, on the connections, so it's better to just have it set up. Now, there's a problem though. You can't use tube amps without a proper load, and a load is something that absorbs the power coming out of the power amp. And usually that's a speaker cabinet. It can also be a speaker simulator with a load. It can be all kinds of stuff, but you do need a load connected to the amp. So here's how I do it. For the studio, I have two ways of recording my amps. One of them is the good old way, where the cabinets, usually not in this room, but in another room, are set up with their microphones, and I send the signal from the amps to the other room, and then the microphones come all the way back and they get recorded. And the other way that I'm enjoying a lot actually these days is the universal audio aux. But I also enjoy the Palmer speaker simulator, which I've had for a long time, and it's been one of my favorite tools in the studio. And other speaker simulators that they all kind of have a different sound to them and a different character. So the idea is pretty simple. You have all these amplifiers. There's about 8 of them, I think, right now in the room. And before you turn them on, as I said, you need to have them see a load so you don't blow them up. And the universal audio aux is a speaker simulator, so it simulates different cabinets and different speakers and even different microphones and rooms, or at least one room, so you can take the amp and use the sound of the amp you like, but you don't have to go through the hassle of, and actually not just the hassle, but you don't need to have a room set up or microphone set up to actually record the actual cabinets. Okay, so my problem is, how do I get the amps into the aux without having to constantly disconnect them and reconnect them? So what you're seeing on the screen is a small 1-unit rack, and I used speak-on connectors. There's 8 of them here, and I'm actually building another one because I have a lot of amps. So each one of these little connections you see, the female speak-ons, is one cable, and each cable is numbered and goes to the output or the speaker output of each one of my amps. So number 1 is my Plexi, number 2 is my JCM 800, number 3 is my JVM, then there's the 2000, then there's the Orange, the PRS, all my amps, each one has their own cable. And their cable goes from the speaker output all the way to the back of this unit you see. Now when it gets there, of course, there's no connection made. Really, basically, it's just a wire. But as you can see, this other little wire here with the male speak-on connection, this is the one that connects to the aux. So if I plug this male speak-on into any of these female speak-ons, I'm making a connection between whatever amp corresponds to that number to the speaker simulator. Okay, so if I want to turn on my Plexi, which sits on number 1, I need first to connect the speak-on male to the number 1 female speak-on. That way the amp and the aux are connected. The only important thing with this setup, it's quite safe of course, but the important thing is that before you turn your amp on, you make the connection. Otherwise you'll turn the amp on and it will see no load, and you can actually blow the amp, or you can, the power amp, you could blow the transformer, you could blow the tubes. It's not safe, so you shouldn't be doing that. But as long as you make the connection first, you should be all right. Now the cool thing about this thing is that the aux in the back and a lot of other speaker simulators have an output. So I could actually send a cable, a speaker cable, from the output of the aux into any of my speaker cabinets, and that way I can connect any of my amps to the little 1 rack unit, and from there have it sent all the way out to whatever cabinets I want. So I could record whatever comes out of the aux, for example, but also a live cabinet. And then when I mix, I can pick and choose, or I can mix them together. There's all kinds of uses for this. And it's extremely useful. And it's really not that complicated to make, but I won't give schematics because if you screw this up, you might blow up your amps. So I'm not comfortable with giving you the exact details, but I think if you know what you're doing, you don't need any more information. And if you don't know what you're doing, then you shouldn't gamble with this because you might ruin your amps. But I thought that this would be useful for a lot of you who have a lot of amplifiers, and there are other options to do this, but they're very expensive, and I think they don't really save you that much time. And as long as you're careful with always having a load to whatever amp you're using, you should be all set. And it's quite safe thing to do, and it speed up your process so you can focus on playing and recording instead of, connecting wires. And all you need is a little rack unit, and those female speak-on connectors. And yes, you do have to spend a bit of money on speaker cable because the cable has to travel to each amp, and if there's 8 or 16 of them like I'm about to set up, there's a lot of cable. But if you spend all that money on 16 amplifiers, cables is nothing. All right, so I hope you found this useful, and I will see you very soon. Please subscribe if you haven't done so yet. Bye bye.